Hey guys, thanks for checking out the Drop with Frank and Brian. We just want to let you guys know that not only is this a visual podcast, but this is an audio podcast. And so you can find the visual versions on each one of our YouTube channels, and we alternate between our two each week. And you can find the audio versions on wherever you find your podcasts.
And then I also want to let you guys know that not only is this an audio podcast, but this is also a video podcast. So if you're listening to this, you can also watch it on either one of our YouTube channels.
Welcome to this week's podcast. And we're just trying to get ready here.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure our lives out.
We're just trying to figure our lives out, but we think we figured it. We are wearing the same shirt. We want to point that out real quick so no one's like, hey, they're wearing the same shirts. We are.
We know.
We are.
And we know.
I have a new laptop holder, so now you won't see my giant gimbal case just sitting in front of me. My sister, for Father's Day, actually got me a proper laptop holder.
Oh, mine sits on a VCR.
I saw.
Yeah.
But no, what the other problem was it kept on like getting hot and the fan was like just going crazy.
Yeah.
So this one has like no bottom on it, so it's just sort of like freestanding. So hopefully cool. the fan won't be screaming too much during the show.
Yeah.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready, man. I had an interesting day.
You did. Tell me all about it.
So I woke up and I had a photo shoot for GSI down at a shop called Rad Fabs. We wrapped it up, and this is like kind of that's not in the best area of town. And I pull up, I'm going home. I pull up in the left-hand turn lane, and this car in front of me has its hazards on, and this lady gets out and slams her door, and her kid gets out, and she grabs a gas can, and she's slamming the door, and everyone's like going around her, because she's out of gas. Mm-hmm. So I know there's no gas stations around, like there's not one across the street or anything. So I was like, hey, you need a ride to the gas station?
Good Samaritan.
And the second I said that, I was like, uh-oh, man, this is a bad idea. But, we all need to do our good deeds from time to time.
Right. You want to be a good citizen.
They hopped in my truck, and they couldn't get in. The kid was just like, this is the biggest truck I've ever been in. It's so tall. How do I get in? Meanwhile, there's traffic going 50 miles an hour past us.
Wow.
And I'm like, just get in, and then he gets in. He's in the back seat. She gets in with her gas can inside the truck. And I said, hey, looks like you need a ride. So she goes, okay. And then the kid was like, hey, do you know any YouTubers? And I'm all, yeah, I'm kind of a YouTuber. And he's like, oh, me too. And something, anyways. So we go, it's like 2 miles to the gas station, right? This lady says 0 words the entire time.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is, yeah, but like not even like thank you.
Oh,
nothing.
Okay.
And it's not like she doesn't speak. She speaks English.
Right, because you just heard her yelling at the kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we pull to the gas station, and I'm like, you pull to a gas station, you think, okay, I'm going to hop out and get gas. She just sat there. Like, for a hot minute. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, is this lady going to rob me? Like,
was this all a ruse?
Is this all a setup?
Is all a ruse?
So she finally gets out, gets the gas, does an awkward getting in my truck again. We go around the thing back to her car. There's a cop behind her car now, and I pull up. They get out of the car, and that's it. I said, I hope you have a better day. And she goes, okay.
Huh.
She didn't say thank you. She didn't say anything. It was like, that was so weird.
That is, yeah. It was kind of weird. But you know what? You know what she didn't do? She didn't make the small talk. You got to talk about the weather.
Well, yeah, that's, yeah. Or maybe say, hey, man, thanks for taking me to the gas station.
Yeah. That's a very interesting story.
I don't know. It was just so weird. Like,
the stuff like that happens to me all the time. Like, I swear, like, I can't think of anything really specific right now, but incidents like that happen to me all the time, and I think it's the funniest thing. Sometimes I feel like my life is a Seinfeld episode, and like all of this wacky stuff happens to me. And Angie thinks the same thing. She's just all like, your life is a sitcom because like the weirdest things happen, and that's one of them. That could be like a Seinfeld sitcom. you know.
Yeah.
And then it's you and me talking, and it'd be Jerry going like, and she didn't talk the whole time.
The whole time. Oh man.
Well, that's cool. So you did
you?
a photo shoot today for
Yeah.
GSI. That's awesome. That's really cool. Was it for a magazine or what was it for?
For their calendar.
Oh yeah, that's right. They do that like yearly calendar thing, huh?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's behind
That's
me. Right there.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, right on. Well, this episode today, we were talking about in a previous episode things. I forget what number it was, but we were talking about things that like we like in the scene that keeps us bringing us back, and kind of like our experience in it. And I had said that we should talk about like trucks, and you said, well, that could be like its whole own episode. Well, here we are. This is that episode.
This is its own whole episode.
This whole own episode about trucks. Maybe not trucks, but like builds in general. I want to address something that's kind of like a hot button issue, but I want to address the built versus bought issue.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it before.
That's a spicy one. That's a spicy topic that a lot of people have pretty strong opinions about.
And we kind of talked about that before, but we'll get into it a little bit deeper.
Right. So I think what we'll start off with is we've already talked about our trucks. I think people have heard about our trucks enough, that the trucks that we've had and stuff like that. But I think we should start maybe with trucks that we like, current trucks that we like, trucks in the past that we like, kind of like, and it'll give sort of like our viewers insight into a bit into our taste, our personal taste in trucks.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So go for it. What are some of your current favorites, past favorites?
Now, are we talking about like brands of trucks or actually specific builds?
I think specific builds. I mean, brands of trucks, pretty easy.
Then I was mixed up because I was going for brands. I have no notes on specific builds.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, you don't have any that come to mind?
No, dude, no. And I was on Our Lifestyle podcast and he asked me this and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I wish I would have done that. Like
notes?
Yeah. Well, I did write notes. But I wrote notes about types of vehicles and types of trucks, like extra cabs versus single cabs. I wish I would have known because I would have done my research and actually like taken notes about this because I have no idea. It's like have you ever walked into, remember when you used to have to buy CDs and you're like, I want Dr. Dre, Snoop, and then you walked into the CD store and you forgot everything that you wanted to get?
That, or like when you go to the, back in the day, movie rental places. Like you just stare at the wall of movies.
I can compare it to something like, so when I upload a video to TikTok, when I go to search for music, my mind goes completely blank.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know what. And then I get in my truck and I know everything. Like search for this. I want to hear this.
I do the same thing. I'm like, actually, that's so funny you said that. That happened to me just yesterday. I cut together a little clip of Crew Cut while we were out in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And I listened to music. I mean, obviously everybody listens to music every day, but I consider myself a bit of a music snob. Mm-hmm. And I admit that. So I'm very in tune to different types of music. And so I was like, off the top of my head, I could think of all this cool music until I made that, and then I'm like, I don't know what to put on this.
Now, was that your music from Epidemic or no?
That was from Epidemic, yeah, because ultimately I realized that, I don't want to get hit with a copyright or something like that, or because I told flagged.
You, like, they tried to take down my last video, not or Instagram did, yeah. They're like, we're removing your video because of copyright, and I was like, no. So I appealed it because I that was one of the songs off of my one of my subscriptions, so I have the license for it. And
yeah.
Like, so.
Well, I think like that's just something that we deal with all the time. Like if it was up to me, like we're talking about like I couldn't think of music, but when I do think about music and I think of a song and I think of some clips, it sounds so good in my head. Would actually be easier to edit videos with popular songs or songs that we already know than trying to search out music. That's because it's really 100%. Hard. It's really hard.
I look at some of these guys that are editing and they don't care. They're just using whatever because they're editing for a client or they're editing for like a promo or something where it doesn't matter. But the things we edit for, like we have to use copyright free music. So yeah.
It's such a but that's frustration sometimes.
The funny part that I have notes for that topic. That's next week's topic.
Oh, okay.
We have jumped weeks because I want to talk about YouTube, though, the whole YouTube world, so we can get into this.
Well, yeah,
later,
we could talk about that later. But right now we're talking about trucks. Let me begin, and then
Yeah, and then
maybe
I'll play off you.
yeah, and then maybe you can think of something. So a few of my favorite trucks that have been over the years, and these are in no particular order or anything like that. There's trucks I've seen that has really inspired me and lend to my exact taste. And it starts with, and maybe we could throw up pictures, or I don't know if people know these trucks, but there was a orange Mazda extra cab on the cover of Mini Truck in the mid, early 2000s.
That was Ryan Westcott's.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? From the Plasma guy?
Westcott Plasma. That was his truck.
No way.
Yep.
I never knew who actually, I'm pretty good with owners and builders and stuff. I knew really nothing about that truck other than
like San Luis Obispo or whatever.
Yeah. And Body Drop did the tint.
Mm-hmm. That was a topic on a Facebook post last year because it's sitting in a yard just rotting now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That truck was so cool.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting that is Westcott, the Plasma guy.
Right.
That's so interesting. Okay. So yeah, that kind of starts the whole conversation. And that truck, to me, is the style that I like. It was sitting on Alba Banks, which is a set of wheels that I have now. It was just a clean single color paint job, that really nice orange, body dropped, and everything shaved.
I thought you don't like body drops.
I do like body drops. I like body drops a lot. Maybe I have a sour taste on body drops because every body drop that I own was a complete piece of crap. So
you got to look back on the things you've owned and not base anything off of those.
I remember one I had and I didn't talk about this truck, so this is actually new information to people. I had a 95 Nissan hardbody standard cab. And the truck I had before that was the truck that I've showed off before, which was the Mazda with the crazy paint job on it and stuff like that. And I just had this idea in my head, I want a body drop truck. I want a body drop truck, and I don't care what it is. I just want to say I have a body drop truck. Yeah. So I found this dude, and I'm actually still friends with this guy, this dude who lived up in Big Bear. And he's like, yeah, I got this Nissan. You want to trade? And at the time, like I said before, I was heavily into trading. So I traded for this Nissan. And for the Mazda. And the Mazda had dialed in, not great, but dialed in better than it was. I had it running good, and it ran. I used to drive it all over the place, and it was pretty solid. And so I said, okay, yeah, let's swap. So he brings this truck down. He's coming down my road, and I'm waiting for him. So I'm waiting in my driveway, and I can see down the road. And he's coming down the road, and the front is billowing out smoke. And I'm like, uh-oh. So he pulls up, and what had happened was there was something going on with the braking system, and I won't get into the technical part of it, but there was something going on with the braking system, and one of the calipers was stuck on the front disc, and he drove it basically from Big Bear to my house with one brake just locked up. So he pulls up.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So he pulls up. It's billowing smoke. Now a smarter person would have just said, "Hey man, you know what? I don't think this is it." But nope, not me who wants a body drop truck. All I saw was it was billowing smoke, but when he pulled up and laid it out, it was flat on the ground. So I was like, I'm in. So I traded it. And then that truck, I won't go into all of the problems, but the number one problem was it was a traditional body drop, a big body drop, and it was like driving a freaking tuna can. I mean, It was so compact in that truck. So that was one issue. And the other issue was it actually had an RX-7 rear end in it. So it was an independent rear suspension. And, knowing how those suspensions work and talking with Max Fish over the years and stuff like that, you just don't throw an independent rear end into something, right? But somebody did. And so this thing, every time you would try to drive it low, it would pull the drive shafts out of the rear end. So I couldn't drive it low. It was just it was a problematic truck.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I'm so soured on body drops.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you. And this can go right into the built not bought thing. Yeah,
that's a really good segue.
Like
I said, it's a spicy subject. People have some pretty strong opinions about it, but I don't know if your opinion is the same as mine, but I'll state mine. Mine is pretty neutral. It's que no los dos. Why not both? Both are fine. There are benefits and pros and cons to each of them.
I think when people say built not bought is they're trying to be trendy. It's trendy to say built not bought because they're not thinking that through. You know what I mean? Let's think about it. Okay. Let's take a Toyota Tacoma, for example. You buy a stock Toyota Tacoma and what do you want to do to it? You want to bag it. So you need airbags, you need compressors, you need a tank, and you need the work done. That costs X. You go find a Tacoma that's already bagged with air compressors, with bags, and the work is done right, right? So, well, we're going to assume that on all of these, what I'm talking about, the work is done right, so you don't have to redo anything. It makes 0 sense to buy the stock one unless it's like a project that you want to do yourself. But if you have zero knowledge of suspension or even a basic knowledge of suspension, then why not buy the one that's already bagged? I'm not saying like a fully done truck, but you could save yourself $5, $6, $7, $8,000.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think well, actually, I think maybe there are 3 parts to this whole conversation, and that is built not bought, in the sense that you either build the truck yourself in your garage, or you purchase one that's already finished, or have one built by a shop. Does the built also fall into the category of like the having a shop build it? Because maybe there's a misconception there, because maybe the hardcore built not bought guys are the guys who build everything themselves. They do the suspension themselves in their garage. They do, you know, paint and body work maybe in their garage, but they're creating this thing themselves with their own hands in their garage. Does that still fall under the same category as someone like me? I had my truck built, you know, but I always consider myself, with the 4Runner, the curator of that truck. I never consider myself the builder. I never consider myself the whatever it is, but I am like the person who picked my people that I wanted to work on it, and I had a style in mind that I wanted it to look like, and I went around and I curated this project. I kind of like facilitated the whole thing.
Yeah.
So does that fit into the built or bought part?
I don't think people know. And again, I think people that are out there with these hardcore built not bought sayings don't know either. They're just saying that because that's, you know what I mean? Like they have a half-built truck that's dragging down the road, so they're like built not bought or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, have you ever met someone with a almost 100% done truck, like nice suspension, nice bodywork, nice paint? Have you ever heard one of them go like start screaming built not bought or anything like that? No, because
that's true. Because
most of the time those trucks, they might have did the suspension, they might have did something, but they didn't probably do the interior themselves or the paint themselves. You know, so if you're going to say built not bought, you like you said, it's just, if you take it to a shop and have it painted, then you didn't do that.
Right.
You just
I think that's where that whole argument kind of like where it starts unraveling. It's like what are we talking about specifically? What is built and what is bought? Yeah. You know, but I kind of like, I'm very neutral on the whole thing, because I think whatever fits somebody's, how should I say this? Whatever fits their lifestyle, I guess, not lifestyle. Bear with me with what I'm trying to say. It's just like and I'll talk about myself personally. I don't know how to do suspension. I know how a truck is painted, and if I, put enough effort into it, I probably could do an okay job at it. But I don't want that. I wanted a finished, built truck that looks cool and is drivable and reliable. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I guess you have these guys out there too, like the festers, you know what I mean, that are buying things that were completely done, and they're kind of almost museum pieces, and they're just keeping them going, almost like keeping their legacy going. So, I mean, I could see, like, say someone bought a truck that's already done completely, like maybe a well-known truck, and then they're out there showing it like they built it. Like they're acting. What's that?
I've never really experienced that, though, because that's funny. You should mention that. I don't mean to cut you off or go on a different tangent, but it's funny that you say that specifically, because one of my favorite trucks is on my list of favorite trucks is the blue Tundra that Extreme Audio built way back in the day, the one of your first videos. I love that truck, and I love exactly how it is. Yeah. And it had been passed around and sold and bought a couple times, and now there's a guy in Chino who currently owns it.
Oh, is it in Chino? It's in Chino now?
Yeah. A guy from Ground Patrol. Do you know that club? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a guy from Ground Patrol bought it, and he's got a few other trucks, but he bought it. And I always thought if I had that truck, I would just be so happy, because, like, growing up in the scene and going all these years through the scene, I always saw that truck as like not the benchmark for what I think a cool truck should look like, but I had always been really
Yeah.
attracted to that truck. So if I had ever got it, or maybe if, who knows, maybe if I end up with it myself, because I've actually hit that guy up and I told him,
Yeah.
I said, hey man, I would definitely parade that thing around as a timepiece, like exactly like Fester does.
Yeah.
I would parade it around and say, this is a time capsule of a time that I was in, and this was the coolest thing to me at that time.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I
that
mean?
no, that makes sense, and I 100% agree with that because there are a couple of trucks out there that if I did that I would buy if they were for sale and I was in a position to buy them, and I wouldn't really change much of them. And I think like Joel's that truck, I love that.
Joel,
truck.
yeah.
It's Joel. And here's a good example is Matt Hutchinson of Matt Hutchinson Designs bought Joel's old Tacoma.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So chop top unibody. It got in an accident when Joel had it, and then it went to someone else, and they did something, and now Matt has it. So if Matt finishes that truck, he's essentially going to redo some suspension and then paint it with a little bit of throwback to what it was, but then a little bit of Matt Hutchinson flair. Mm-hmm. Is that a built not bought truck? Are you going to go up to Matt and you're going to say, "Oh, you didn't do anything to this truck"?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
I think really this, now that we're talking about it and kind of like walking ourselves through this whole conversation, I think it's too complicated.
It is.
Everybody tries to make things very simple.
Yeah.
It's either built or bought, but there's so much gray area in between that it's not.
I'll say
It's a
this right
lot
now.
of different things.
If you're out there screaming built not bought and you're having that conversation, then you go get in a huge pile of junk and drive it down the road. You know what I mean? Like maybe you should have someone else help you build it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, don't put your pride aside and talk to someone that knows what they're doing.
Maybe that's one of the things. I think maybe that's one of the things is pride.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people, no, I can't say that a lot of people, but, you know, I think maybe there are some people who get so wrapped up in their pride in their vehicle that maybe they're blinded to something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the coolest thing to build a truck in your garage. I body dropped my Tacoma in my garage.
Yeah.
I didn't do the suspension, but I did the body drop, you know, and so I was super proud of that. Mm-hmm. You know,
I could
super proud.
totally see the perspective that guys like that come from.
Yeah.
Like if I built a truck by myself in my garage that was functional, like you just, you know, in a previous episode, you say mini truckers aren't scared.
Yeah.
We're not scared to dive into something and literally take it to the most basic parts and rebuild the whole thing.
Yeah.
So if I was someone like that and I did that in my garage, I would probably have the same attitude.
Yeah,
to be
it's
honest
definitely
with you.
it's definitely cool if you have the capability and the knowledge and the friends to come help you and stuff like that. It is amazing to do something in your garage. There's no better feeling than doing it on your own.
Right.
But there's also no better feeling than working very hard, making an income, and then having a shop build your truck too.
Right.
Because they're both accomplishments.
Well, and that kind of actually brings me to another little sub point that I have written down here. You and I, and we say this all the time, you and I, we do this as a job. This is what we do. Well, shops do it as their job as well. So there's an economy involved as well.
Exactly.
You know? So like it's when there are, and I really don't want to like offend some people, but there are people who really scream the built not bought thing and really don't like anything else. But this is, like I said, it's an economy. People have built businesses and trying to provide for their families and make something out of nothing. And they need people to come to their shops and buy stuff from them, whether it be parts or services or something. You know what I mean?
And we need people to buy the trucks we build.
That's also a very, very good point.
You know what I mean? Like, so if you have a truck that you built in your garage with your hands, and then when you're done with it and you want to buy and you have to sell it, are you going to not sell your truck and are you going to talk crap to the guy that's buying your truck? Like,
yeah, wouldn't that be right?
Be
funny?
Like you're taking his money as he's taking your truck, and you're like, "Hey, man, yeah, you're a poser or something. You didn't build that. I
built
did.
not bought." That's a very good point.
Yeah.
You know, there are a few trucks out there that kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, when we were in Maggie Valley, there was that green truck that I forget the name of the shop. You filmed it. You and Mike A went out there and filmed them. It was a green Tacoma standard cab.
Oh, it was brand. It was chump change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that truck. So someone purchased that truck, and it resides back out there, back east somewhere. And they're very blunt with the fact. I think they have stickers all over the truck saying "bought, not built." You know, like it's what I mean. What they worked really hard for that truck. They must have. Maybe they were the same thing as me, and they saw that truck before, and they're like, "Man, I wish I could have that truck or a truck like it." And then there they go.
Yeah, there's that red standard cab Tundra. That was it. He was at Maggie Valley, and I filmed him doing rolling shots, and he was kind of in front of our booth this year.
Yeah, I know that truck.
I love that truck. I love standard cab trucks in general, and I love standard cab Tundras. I think they just look sporty and aggressive, and no one does them. And there's those two body dropped ones. Well, that red one, I'm just like, man, if I had the money, and I would buy that truck, and I would drive it just I wouldn't do anything to it right now. You know what I mean? But because I think it's freaking rad.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. You know, since we're getting on all these topics, that's another thing. You know, there are certain people who buy trucks like that, and they have like a need to like do something to it to make it their own. And I'm for our audio listeners, I'm using air quotes. Like, why? It was a really cool truck.
I mean, if you get the truck and you want to paint it a different color, or there's absolutely, in my opinion, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it either.
Nothing wrong with anything.
Right.
As long as you're doing what you want to do, then that's it. Don't judge someone for doing something different than you did.
Yeah.
You know, like that's it. Like, so if you're catching yourself screaming the built not bought thing or whatever, just it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And that's sort of like my whole like idea on it is I'm just sort of like middle of the road. It's like, do whatever you want. Like, if you want to buy finished trucks, buy finished trucks. You want to build your own truck, go ahead, do that.
If granted, and I know people are going to be like, yeah, but what about the guy that's out there saying he built it? Well, he's just wrong. You know what I mean? Like, so if someone bought a truck that was already built, and then he's out there like he did. Okay, well, sure. Of course, but that doesn't happen very much.
I was going to say I've been doing this for 20 years. I've never ran into that.
Yeah,
honestly, not once. I've never ran into someone with a well-known truck, or maybe here and there are people who maybe try to like kind of get it around the corner, maybe with not a well-known truck, or, you know, some random truck they picked up like, oh yeah, I built this, you know, maybe. But I've never ran into that person where someone bought like a pretty well-known truck and tried to pass it off as their own.
Now, I would tell you, I would feel a little bit weird if I bought a truck that was 100% done and I was getting trophies for it. That's a good question. Like, or I mean, not a good question, but a good like
idea.
If I got a trophy, great, because I didn't personally get that trophy, so the truck got that trophy because the truck is amazing. Right. You know what I mean? So that could be a weird thing. That could be where people see like if they say you're in the audience or you're in the crowd and you're at a show and someone gets X trophy, and then you watch them and they're kind of smug about it, like maybe that's where people are getting that idea. Like, screw that guy.
Maybe.
He didn't do anything to that truck, and he's just out there acting like he did, you know?
Maybe. You know, but I kind of feel that way myself. Even though, like, again, I'm like the curator of my truck, I kind of feel like that sometimes. Like, I get trophies and stuff for the truck, but I look at it kind of differently. Like, the trophies, and they're sitting over there, the trophies that I get for that truck, I don't feel are for me. Like, exactly what you said. They're not for me. They're for a, you know, good job on this thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's the way I feel like. So whenever I get trophies, I never feel like it was my personal accomplishment. Mm-hmm. I feel like it was an accomplishment just for this thing I created. Yeah.
But that's an accomplishment in itself. You know, like an accomplishment in itself is you did something you worked hard, you made your money, you were out there getting to know the right people. Like, you did everything correct to, in the end, you have this cool truck. Mm-hmm. And you get an award. So whether it's whatever it is, you know, you should be proud of it, you know, because it is this it's this thing that you created, maybe not with your bare hands, like, but you know, it's like, are these people building their own compressors and out there spinning their own tanks and you know?
No, like I said, it's there. Once you start, so we started this episode off saying we're gonna have a conversation about built not bought.
Yeah.
Which seems like a pretty easy conversation. What do you think is better, built, not bought?
Yeah.
But once you start really, like we're doing right now, getting into the nuts and bolts of it and dissecting it, it's a really complicated question, and there's just so many variables involved. And
Yeah.
kind of like, we said it before, and we're repeating ourselves. It's just like, okay, to do whatever you want.
It's just like
whatever
anything,
you have fun.
anything in life. There's usually not a simple explanation for something.
Right. No, definitely.
It's
Definitely.
There's many layers to the cake per se.
So going back to the main topic at hand, which is the trucks themselves, I kind of brought up a couple of trucks that I like, or a couple of them, which was the orange Mazda. Another one, which is another Mazda, is the black one that Jeremy built.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, to me that is like one of the, and I only saw it maybe in person once or twice. It was mainly like through magazines and internet stuff like that. To me, that is like one of the smoothest trucks ever built.
Yeah, me too.
That thing is
agree.
just so clean and so nice.
Yep.
And like you said before, unfortunately, Jeremy will probably never build another mini truck.
Maybe one day, you never know.
Maybe, hey, he might. You know what? He said, I remember him saying that every time he posts that truck, everybody goes nuts. Like they just share. Like every once in a while, the truck will just sort of pop up in social media, and it'll go nuts.
Yeah.
And like maybe that'll motivate him to be like, hey, maybe I should build another one of these things.
What made that truck was the wheels.
Oh, definitely. And what's funny is Jaime Silva just hit me up. Well, no, he didn't hit me up, but he was kind of putting the general question out there, looking for a set of those wheels. And
the problem with those wheels is they only look good on certain things, and that's wheels in general, in my opinion. Like just because a set of wheels, like I think the KMC, what were they? The Alfs.
I don't remember those.
You don't remember the Alfs?
No, I remember the units.
No, the KMC Alfs. So they looked really good on my buddy's Civic, but they look stupid.
Oh, that's the one with all the holes in it.
Yeah.
The little tiny. Yeah.
They look good on my buddy's Civic, but they wouldn't look good on something else. Just like those 3 spokes, and those 3 spokes only look good if they're a larger diameter wheel. Mm-hmm. You start to shrink those diameters down, and that center becomes chunky.
They look kind of funny.
Yeah, they do. So,
do you remember the other truck that had that back in the day that looked super good? I don't think it ever got finished. Mm-hmm. It was a extra cab Toyota from Severed Ties, and he had a set on his truck. It was at Rezo in like 08.
Oh yeah,
and do you remember that one? I think it had like a blown V8 in it or something like that. And a roll cage and all that good stuff in it.
Yeah, that's the funny thing with wheels is remember those old Lexanis and stuff like that? Like it's funny because some of those wheels, I look at them now and I'm like, that doesn't look very good.
The Lexanis were so popular in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But then again, like sometimes they look good. Maybe it's a car thing because also those like really crazy Lexanis look good on Civics and stuff like that too. In my opinion,
I don't know. I think things change. But it's like tweed. Everyone used to love tweed, and tweed is not something you love. It's ugly. It looks like old carpet.
Yeah, I never liked it.
No, you know what I mean. But people loved it, and I loved it. I had a tweed dash with tribal stripes in my Toyota. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I'm like, that was disgusting.
That's hilarious.
Some things are just meant to be left in the past.
That's it. There's a lot of, and actually, again, that's great conversation because I was going to bring up the whole like graphics thing.
Yeah.
Like I was not a graphics guy. I've said many times before, my era of mini trucking, and I'll say it again, it's like a lot of body mods, single color paints, big wheels, stuff like that. And I was never really into graphics. I always kind of looked at the graphics and thought of them as an old thing. Like an old 90s thing or an old 80s thing, and I was like, whatever. But just recently, actually, I started to get into graphics. Ever since, Matt did Eron's truck, and Eric did his truck, and I'm probably forgetting others. Holly's truck with all the Cal graphics on it. Like, I started to really get into those, and I really started to understand the importance behind them.
Yeah.
As far as like the cultural significance of those paint jobs, especially with like the Socal, and to be more precise, the like Bakersfield look, which was like the Cal look.
So I learned a lot about graphics when I went out to that Tamco takeover, and Matt and Daniel and all those guys did Finnegan's truck. Like Matt was explaining to me, and these other guys were explaining to me the correct way to do graphics. And then once you learn that, and then you look at some of these other paint jobs, and you're like, oh, Yeah, because something's easy on the eyes if it's done correctly. If it's not, it kind of confuses you.
Mm-hmm. And that's funny because that's actually about the same time I started paying attention to graphic paint jobs too. Yeah. And maybe because since you told me that, because I noticed the same thing, and I'm becoming more keen at shows, walking around looking at graphic paint jobs and saying like, oh, okay, I see. I get it. I see how things are going.
I've always liked graphic paint jobs. I never didn't like graphics. I don't know if I would ever put graphics on my truck unless I was like wealthy enough to own a couple of trucks and then put graphics on one. Cause I didn't, if I could choose between graphics and no graphics, I'm choosing no graphics for my personal truck.
I'm the same way.
But if I'm looking at it, like looking at trucks, I want to see a bunch of different styles and a bunch of different colors and things like that. So I think they're rad. I just don't, I don't know if I would do it. What I would love to do is like a pinstripe Chris. Like a roof.
Like the marker thing?
Yeah, like a marker graphic job on the roof. Mm-hmm. Where, some people put like the lowrider style paint jobs on the roof. What is it?
Like patterns?
Patterns, yeah. Mm-hmm. Thinking about that for the OBS, but I don't know.
That's cool. Yeah, I felt the same way about graphics this whole time. It's like the closest thing I ever came to was my crazy painted Mazda, and that I just came up on that. But I'm in the same boat. Like I don't think I would go out and do a paint job like that. And like with a 4Runner, when it came to painting that one, I kind of went with my original style, which I like as a single color paint job, but I knew I wanted something a little more, which was the graphics and stuff like that. And this is just my personal taste, but like what I wanted with a 4Runner was I wanted to take the mini truck like look, which was a bright color, single color paint, and then throw in some like airbrushing, some like lowrider type airbrushing, but not crazy, like hardcore lowrider airbrushing. And when I went to Alan at AK Airbrushing, that's what I kind of told him, and he came up with this great mix. If you really pay attention to the graphic, it starts off with like a very subtle lace pattern, and then it goes into the airbrushing and stuff like that. And that's just my look, and I think that's another like SoCal look is like now that I think about it, it's the inspiration that I got from that Tundra. That's what I told Alan. I said, because Alan also painted that Tundra. And I told Alan, I said, hey, the Tundra is one of my favorite vehicles, built. And I love the paint. I love it how the airbrushing is just like, it's not like a piece of art. Okay, forgive me, that's not the right way to say it. It's not like a colored picture. It's just a bunch of different like gray tones, and blacks and stuff like that. And using the color of the paint sort of as like mixing it into the graphic and stuff like that. And that's what I told him I wanted. And he knocked it out of the park because that's what he does. That's what he specializes in.
Yeah. I've seen some cool like monographic or mono.
That's monographic.
Monographic, monotone, however you want to say it.
That's what it was trying.
Do you remember the Tacoma from No Regrets? It was black. It was the one that Dave Prater has now. The quad cab Tacoma.
Oh, when it was black, yeah.
Yeah, when it was black. Monochromatic.
Monochromatic. That is the correct word.
That is the correct term. We're learning. We're got big brains over here. That I love that. And then there's another Tacoma from Aftermath, Florida, somewhere in the south, and it's a newer style Tacoma, a bigger one, like I think 050 to 0 something, and that has a monochromatic paint job, and that's one of my favorite trucks too.
I can't pinpoint that one, but yeah, no, definitely, that's definitely. And
I have footage of it, so I'll put it on the screen, and then when you rewatch this, you'll see it. No, that's the one here.
So that's cool. Like, yeah, this is all kind of coming together. This whole thing about paint jobs and truck builds and stuff like that. And now I want to bring up something and to see your opinion on it. And because like this is my, me, I'm very passionate about my state where I come from. Southern California is like the epicenter for this kind of stuff. Now, all the things that we're talking about, these graphic paint jobs, some of the stuff that was built back in the day, I feel a lot of this stuff originated in Southern California.
Southern California, Central California.
Yeah, well, California in general. West Coast.
I am so bad at like the history of this whole thing that we're in because I don't know why, but I just didn't pay attention to that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, like if you listen over Jason over at OLP, like he's got that dialed. Like he'll tell you who painted this truck and what issue of the magazine it was in, and then who bought it. Like he just knows that stuff.
Oh yeah, he's great with that stuff.
So I do know that there were some guys doing graphics out there in Florida or the South that were very similar to the CAD. So I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. You know what I mean? I don't know if Cal Concepts with Last Look and stuff, if that's what started it, because everyone says Cal Style Graphics.
Yeah, that's my point. And actually, like, I didn't really think about it until someone pointed out to me, but we always refer to like Cal Style Graphics. And then I forgot who it was, but they're like, yeah, that's a Bakersfield look. Like, not only is it a Southern California look, but it's more specifically a Bakersfield look.
And I don't even know if it's technically a Southern California thing. Because Bakersfield, as you know, some people want to say it's Southern California.
Oh yeah. That's another thing.
That's SenCal to me. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, same. Sorry, Bakersfield.
Yeah, when you get over that grapevine, man, you're right there. It's Bakersfield all the way to Sacramento.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna say it's a SoCal thing, what trucks had graphics on them like that from SoCal previous to Cal Concepts doing it?
That's true, because previous to that, it was a lot of like checkered and drippy paint. Yeah, you're right.
Drips and the stripes. What do they call them?
Yeah, you're gonna make me think.
I know.
Starts with an L.
The OG mini truck stuff.
Scallops.
Scallops. That starts with an L.
That now starts with an L. That does not start with an L at all.
Does it have two L's in it or one? I don't know.
Yeah, scallops.
Yeah.
Well, that was like a hot rod thing, I think. You know?
Well, again, look at where this is all coming from, hot rod stuff. So you're going to have mini truckers are going to take what they saw in hot rods, whether it was flames or scallops or whatever, and then they make it their own. And then they look at the lowrider scene too, and then they kind of do that. And
yeah. And then that's
if we're talking about like tribal style graphics, I would say Cal Concepts was the start of it as far as my memory, but you don't base that on me, because everyone listening or people listening probably know more than I do.
Well, that's the thing, is like, although our knowledge on, like, even like comparing ourselves to Jason, although our knowledge is pretty deep on this stuff, we don't know everything. And there are some people.
I would say my opinions are deeper than my knowledge.
That's it. I like that. So this whole topic of everything is all kind of tying this whole thing together. It's really good. We talked about trucks that we liked, which kind of got us on the topics of like styles that we like. And our style isn't limited to just these things that we're talking about. And that's one thing that's so great about this. And we said this before about the mini truck scene in general, is it is a melting pot of different ideas and different, ideas.
You said
everything.
Ideas.
I know, I said it twice. It's just a melting pot of everybody's personal taste and ideas, I think.
And I also think it's a space for people to go extreme.
Yeah.
Like you see in some of the footage that I was looking at on these from Summer Madness, I think it was like 1999 that I have on these tapes, and we're walking around the show, and there was a body dropped standard cab, like 89 to 95 Toyota pickup, and it was like one of the first trucks on body dropped on 20s.
I remember you showing me that one.
Yeah, fully shaved and crazy, and it's just like mini truckers took everything to the extreme, and then they reeled it back and fine tuned it. You know, so
another one. I'm sorry, I don't want to.
No, good.
Sorry. Another one that I just realized, that just talking about that truck and thinking about another truck that really, I think, had some impact on the scene, because I think that's it. Like, a lot of the trucks that we're talking about are not only like our personal or my personal, trucks that I like. I think a lot of these trucks had an impact on the whole scene, and one of them was Josh Freeman's Toyota.
I have it written down right here.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, Josh Freeman was definitely one of, and Josh Freeman, when you want to talk about built not bought, the only thing in that truck that he did not do himself was make the steering wheel. He did the seats, the interior, the paint, the bodywork. He did everything on that truck. That
truck was so great, and he was down to really just like I remember one of the low life videos when they did a feature on it, and he was just down to do burnouts in that truck and donuts and drag it.
Yeah, the first time I saw that truck, I pulled up behind it in line at Truck Jam in my Tacoma, and I pulled it behind. I was like, "What is this?" And then he hit the brakes, and the lights, the taillights were integrated into the graphics, and I was like, and it had the Honda front end.
And they matched the graphics. They were like kind of tribal taillights that matched the graphics.
And that truck blew my mind because it was so extreme, but so tastefully done, you know, and all that stuff. And then the other truck that I really liked that always stuck in my head and it's still around is Tuck Lugs.
You mean Tuck or King Tuck? The orange one?
Tuck Lugs is that green and white 84 to 88. It was at Maggie Valley. It started in SoCal and now it's back east.
I can't remember it right off my head, but again,
yeah.
Put a picture and then so I can see it later.
Yeah, dark green, and it's an extra cab, and it's got white, and the graphics go over the hood, over the dash, down.
Oh,
and
that's it's the one with the offset cluster. It's the stock cluster, and it's offset to the side. Wasn't that? Forgive me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that like one of the very first bag trucks or something? A guy named Brian something.
Brian Gendro was one of the first guys to bag stuff in SoCal. And that's another truck that Tacoma that Gendro did. It was a black extra cab. It was 100%, I think, the first Tacoma to get bagged and body dropped. And that thing was sick. And that was like like I said, when Tacomas first came out, and it was just like, holy crap. But Gendro, yeah, he was definitely on that leading edge of airbag suspension and body drops and building really, really like over the top stuff.
Yeah, it goes right back to what you're saying about mini truckers not being scared and just going completely crazy on these things.
Yeah, and it makes it easy, too, because the trucks were inexpensive. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's just the thing about mini trucks. They were inexpensive, beginner trucks, and when you were 16, 17, 18 years old, you didn't care if you had to, like, cut your truck up and drive it to work with no bed for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Now, you couldn't even drive your Titan to Maggie Valley without the side strip on the side of it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the same way on my Titan is that tailgate piece, that black plastic cap. Mm-hmm. I will not drive my truck without that cap on it. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember driving my Tacoma with no bed on it for 3 months.
Because you didn't care, man. You just want to cruise it.
Yeah.
You know, that I meant to say this in one of our conversations, and I wrote it down right here because I wanted to make a point of it. One of my favorite things about what we do, and we've kind of preluded it with saying that mini truckers are not scared. Mini truckers are not afraid to go out there and just totally get it with no really not a care what people think. To me, mini trucks and mini trucks in general are punk rock. And I've said this before, where they're just like, if you parked, and this kind of lends back to my conversation about 32 Fords and stuff like that. And I'll use a 57 Chevy for this example. If you pulled up in a turquoise and white 57 Chevy two-door hardtop, total 50s, like, you know, diner type looking car, 95% of people can appreciate that car. Even non-car people will look at that car and go like, that's a nice thing. Mm-hmm. Now you take a mini truck that has been cut to the absolute nothing and body dropped on big wheels with this crazy paint with all these colors and everything like that, and you park that 95% of people will drop drastically. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is one of my favorite parts. That's another reason why I keep doing this, because you know me very well. Yeah. And a lot of people know me very, very well, but that is my attitude. When like, you know how I am, I just like, when people start like going this way, I just want to go this way, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly my favorite part too, is driving a body drop truck and then like just pulling up to a regular car show or something like that and having people go, what in the hell? Yeah. I remember driving my Tacoma. My family lives in a small town in Northern California called Sonora. And this was back in the early 2000s, late 90s when I or probably early 2000s, because my truck was, did I drive it up there body dropped or just bagged? I forgot, but drove it up there into this small town. And they were just like, I remember one guy coming out and he goes, how the hell do you haul hay in this? You know, like, because it's all cut out and stuff. So I love people's reactions to that. It's just, you know.
And me owning a 4Runner that's bagged, you could only imagine the conversations and looks that I've gotten from like off-road guys with my truck. And I made a video about a year or so ago. I made a feature video on that truck, and inevitably it was going to happen. I got comments like, how could you do this? These trucks are supposed to be crawling over rocks and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, no, this is me. And that's exactly why I did it. Because you don't like it.
Well, also those people don't realize that they made factory 2-wheel drive 4Runners.
Yeah, well, mine is a factory.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, if your argument is, well, those things should be off road only. It's like, well, they made 2-wheel drive, so they're not obviously off-road. It's just a truck. You know
It's just a truck you could put a lot of stuff into.
Yeah, but that's just the commenters on social media crack me up.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I don't know if we're going to be getting to the end of this, but I do want to. So we're talking about built, not bought, stuff built in your garage, stuff built at shops. Do you want to throw up that clip that you just showed me the other day of you sitting in your freshly body dropped Tacoma?
Oh my gosh, yes. I'll put that on right now. That's
I love it.
we body dropped my Tacoma to the rocker, which means we folded the pinch. And if you guys ever body drop your truck, go to the rocker. If you body drop a truck to the pinch, you might as well not have done it. And I said what I said.
There you go, on the record.
Yeah. Anyways, did that, and you know, I'm a big dude, and I was a little bit smaller then. You know, I'm a little bigger now, but I had my bench seat, and I had no idea if I was going to fit or not. We didn't do any like I didn't put a tilt steering or anything in there. So, yeah, that was the night. That video was on the night that we finally got the cab dropped on the ground.
Gotta adjust that clutch pedal a little bit because it don't shift good. That's not that bad, Galen.
No, it's not.
It's not bad. Here.
I love it. The enthusiasm in it was a perfect mix of excitement, enthusiasm, and a little bit of relief.
Well, not or was it you know, you ever buy something and you're like, man, did I make the right decision? But then you just talk yourself into it.
Mm-hmm. All the time.
Especially if it's really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you cut your truck up that you know, my truck was not cheap. I think I paid $12,000 for that truck used at a dealership. And I cut this thing up to where you could see the street through the floor at one point in time. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, is this the best decision that I ever made? You know? Yeah. And it was. And I can't wait to get that truck back.
Yeah, and you still have that truck, and it's gonna be hitting the road again. That's super cool.
Yeah, I think 2023 is my Tacoma year.
Awesome.
2022 is the OBS year. I just ordered the Stone Fab kit for the front the other day.
Oh, cool.
So I am a set of tires and metal closer to getting that thing on the ground.
You know, and I have such a soft spot for OBS trucks. And talking about trucks and our favorite trucks, my first truck, and I've said this before, so I'm just bringing it up again. My first truck was an OBS, and specifically it was a square dash OBS. Mm-hmm. And every time I get in a square dash OBS truck, I fall in love and I go back 20 years. And it's only specifically square dashes because I get in your truck and I'm like, oh, it's cool. I like it. But I sit in, I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah,
but
that's purely a nostalgia thing because because you don't want a square dash OBS. If you're going to get OBS, get a 96 to 99. No, that goes back to the pure nostalgia thing. If you're going to get a truck, no one cares about the interior. Yeah. The outsides look the same.
Yeah.
Why would you get a truck that is inferior to the interior? You know what I mean? The newer interior.
Because like it just like it's funny. My mom bought this old truck to haul hay around. It's funny you mentioned hay. So she bought this old truck and it was an OBS, and she got it for like $500 something like that. And it was a square dash. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is nice. It's just like the one I used to have. That's cool. And then she's like, well, just go take it for a drive. And I was like, cool. So I get in it. I'm all. I went back in time, man. It was me and Angie cruising down the main road here in the desert, just blasting music. It was, it's nostalgia. It was absolute nostalgia. So yes, I want a square dash.
Nostalgia runs out real quick when you have to start replacing and fixing things.
That could be true.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just like a Nintendo or whatever. Like you're like, I want this Nintendo, and then you buy it and you play it one time and it sits in the corner the rest of the time.
That's a good point. I don't know. Who knows? I might end up with another OBS square dash truck.
Well, they're definitely cheaper.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, the 96 to 90. Mine is the 95, which I found out it's a one-off year for a couple of things. There's no passenger side airbag, but it has the round dash. So where the airbag goes, it's flat. And then 96, there's a passenger side airbag. And then 95 is the only year, or 96 had the third door. Mine doesn't have the third door. And then, there's a bunch of little differences where they transition, and that's a transition year. So if you're ever in the market for an OBS, don't buy a 95. Just either get the square dash if you want that, or get the round 96 to 99.
Perfect.
The 96 to 99 is nice because they make aftermarket like electronics for the dash pieces and stuff.
Right on. Well, cool. Yeah. So that's, I think, I think we're kind of getting to the end here. What do you think?
We're about a little under an hour.
A little under an hour. Okay.
Yeah. I'm at 16 minutes on my camera, and oh yeah, so we're right around there. But yeah, we could close it out. Is there any questions that you've been reading?
Nothing that we can answer in a few, just a few quick things. But we'll put it out there. I actually just got this question today, and should I mention who asked the question? I don't know.
Always. I think you always should.
Okay. NR Jordan on Instagram. Jordan from No Regrets. He's got the red Frontier, Center Cab Frontier. Really cool truck. So he asked me today, he's like, what are our thoughts on the new people getting into the scene? And, I guess he considers himself a new person. I never really considered him like a newer person. I guess he considers himself that. But so maybe, one of the next episodes we'll talk about that, our thoughts on like new people coming into the scene, how they're received,
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good topic. I mean, it's almost something I don't think about.
Yeah, it was a really good question. I told him, I said, that's a really good question because
Well, I mean, I don't think about it. Like, I don't even think I have an opinion on it because I think it's great. So that's it. That's basically my opinion. Like, I guess there's a couple layers of that question, but there are more questions that are on the Instagram.
Okay.
That we haven't gotten to, but we'll get to them. We might not get to them in this episode or next episode, but we're definitely
we'll do a whole episode of just question and answer.
Yeah, the problem is 3 questions turn into an entire episode.
Yeah.
So, but just saying, like, keep the questions coming because we will eventually answer them. Like, usually me or Frank will reply on the Instagram page and we'll say, "Hey, great question." When we say that means we took notes and we will get to it. It just don't know when, but yeah. So what else? What's going on though? What's next for you?
Next for me is what am I doing next? Not really any shows going on that I'm going to be going to.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Nothing coming up in July.
There are things, but you caught me off guard once again because I don't write.
Well, good. I'm right back at you. You caught me off guard with the topic.
Do you have anything going on?
No. There is the July 3rd, the 4th of July Art of Noise show that happens every year out here.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's at the trucks park on the softball fields and the fireworks launch right there.
I don't have any upcoming show stuff going on, but I would like to remind everybody because I don't remember. Is this one going on my channel or your channel? My channel. This is going on
yours.
My channel.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys check out the Minion Ats video. I dropped it when you guys watch this. I had dropped it last week, so a week ago. Finished that one, so that one was fun to put together. Finally put together. Now I'm working on the Rolling in the Red Rocks show, so that'll be up pretty soon. Trying to catch up on all these edits.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
I'm trying to too, and I'm actually not in a rush for them because there's again nothing much coming up. I don't want to rush to upload my videos, and I would like to say I appreciate you commenting on my mini truck nets on YouTube, Frank.
Me personally?
Yeah.
Did I not?
You did not.
Okay.
So I'd like to call Frank out because we always say, guys, comment and gives a thumbs up to our videos because it helps us. And Frank, he didn't do that.
I didn't do it on this one, but I don't know if you noticed, but often I will pin your comment on all my videos.
That's because I comment on your videos.
That's just because I think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny. And then what I'll often do, this is just maybe, I don't know, whatever. But this is what I'll often do. If I get a really negative comment or some weird comment, I'll just pin that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's just because that's just funny. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do stuff that I think is funny. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think the next topic that I want to talk about is YouTube and the IG world and how things are changing and also give a little bit of a more insight into YouTube because I get a lot of questions about how much money do you make or this, or can you do this, or what is this, or, so I think, I think people are really interested in it. So I definitely want to get into that.
And we're really transparent about stuff too. So it's not like it's some, at least for me, I can speak from my point of view. It's not like a closely guarded secret or anything. It's just, I'll let everybody know what's going on.
Oh yeah. I mean, my ultimate goal is to make money on YouTube. So, I want the most views possible. And that's kind of why I posted a community post on my YouTube page yesterday about longer videos versus shorter videos.
Yeah, you're kind of like trying to figure that out because I thought I was a bit opposite than you because I'm kind of leaning towards the longer videos, but now you're trying to.
Well, I don't know about you, but with me, I'm so you're telling a story with your voice. So it's easier for you to edit your videos. I'm not
Sometimes.
I'm not doing that. I am like every beat has to be perfect on my transitions. If I'm going one way on this, it goes like I'm spending so much time trying to make these videos like tell the story themselves.
Right.
That I'm spending a vast amount of time, and if I'm only going to get a minimal amount of views, I'm going to stop doing that. There's no reason for me to spend 2-3 weeks editing a video to not get any traction. I would rather,
that's true.
you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that to like pity party Brian, but if I can make a 2-minute video and put it on Instagram and get 25,000 views, or put it on TikTok and get 200,000 views, I'm going to do that. And you know what I mean? I'm not going to, and I'll still put stuff on YouTube. I still, and I want to, and I always will, but this goes back to like things are changing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And so am I going to spend a vast amounts of my time and energy to do that, especially when, when you don't see people sharing your stuff?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, look, guys, like we do this, and the only thing we ask is that you share this. You know, if I have 72,000 subscribers on my channel and I'm getting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views,
Yeah.
you know,
No, yeah, no, and that's a great topic for the next episode.
It is.
We'll get into a deep dive on that because there's a lot to unpack with that one.
yeah, it definitely is. So yeah,
Final thoughts?
that was my final thought, I guess. Oh, I'm
That was
going to
your
a
final
C10 show.
Oh, I might be going with you.
Yeah, that's it's called C10
Yeah.
C10 Slowdown. It's at the Madonna Inn.
Moonbeam Mike is going to go, right?
Yep, and Scott from GSI and a bunch of people. So
Oh, cool.
we're
Yeah, I think I'm going to be rolling to you with that one.
yeah, because we're gonna meet up with the guys from Long Beach, like Oro and those guys, and then we're gonna
Oh, yeah, the C10 Club dudes.
yep, and then cruise up and do that. So
Cool. Yeah, well, that'd be cool. Yeah, definitely. My final thoughts on this whole thing is just kind of like my final thoughts on everything is just like I love all this stuff. I love talking about this stuff and, digging into these topics and about these trucks that have influenced me and kind of like guided me and shaped who I am. I really like it. So actually, I want to say thank you to everybody out there who actually builds these trucks.
oh yeah, for sure.
Who does all this stuff because, people, we're there as not like we're observers or like documentarians. We're just sort of there absorbing all this stuff, but it's all you guys who are building this stuff for us to document.
yeah, and you get those comments on YouTube and stuff where it's like, oh, I'm such a fan or whatever. It's like, no, like I'm a fan of you guys.
Yo, for sure. Yeah.
I'm like that Ford Ranger that is in my mini Nats video with the stacks coming out of the hood. I'm like, that is the coolest thing, and I'm such a fan of that truck, and I don't even know that guy, but I am a fan of that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm such a fan of these guys that are just out there just cruising their trucks as low as possible.
That's a really interesting thing you bring up because like I get that too. So like I guess I'm saying like, hey man, thanks for the clip of my truck, and I'm like, I almost say like, well, thank you for building a cool truck for me to film.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I should be thanking you because you have put in your hard work to allow me to create this content.
Well, if you think about it, like Will Freeman, for example, when we went to that, when I was putting in those rollers, those pictures, and it's like thanks, and I'm like, no, thank you for making me look cool.
Yeah, definitely.
You're making like I get to share this now on my Instagram. I get to share this on my YouTube. I get to do this, and people are liking my stuff when they're technically they're liking your stuff. So
exactly,
it kind of rolls downhill. Without the cool trucks, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So
for sure, yeah, right on. Well, cool. Well, thanks for guys.
That's about how this episode went.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, or we'll talk to you next week. If you're listening, we'll talk to you. If you're watching, we'll see you
next week.